You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast, where you'll learn step-by-step how to meet and seduce beautiful women, whether you're looking for one night of fun, a week-long fling, or a long-term relationship. I'm your host, Trip, and the episode starts now. Hello and welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. I'm your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. Yes, today we are talking about first date conversation. First date conversation. Here's the thing. A lot of guys, when they get on the first date, they feel like there's a lot for them to do. Like, how do I nail the first date? When do I escalate on the first date? Let me give you just a quick first date formula. Okay, but before I get into that, to make it make sense for you, I'm going to tell you a little story of when I used to go out back in 2008 when I was first starting this stuff. I was first starting to get into going out, meeting women, and understanding how all this stuff worked. I remember I had a wingman, a friend, where we'd go out a bunch, and we had this kind of joke where once we knew the girl was interested in us, at that point, there was nothing to do anymore. It was just don't fuck up, right? So we had this joke called, oh, I'm in don't fuck up game right now. Like we called it like a game, right? Like, but it's don't fuck up game because there's nothing to do. It's just don't fuck up. Meaning they already like you. They're already interested in you. So at this point, it's just about not doing anything awkward or weird and not saying anything that's going to, be truly offensive. It's just about, and really this is the easiest part. It's like you're already in. So I say this a lot to my coaching clients. I go, listen, at this point, when it comes to a first date, if you're on a first date, and I'm going to be very specific here, I'm more talking about a first date from an approach, from meeting someone in person. I'll talk about online in just a second. But from in person, really, it's all about, just not messing up because they already like you. So you've already met them. You've already got them somewhat attracted to you or invested in you because they're agreeing now to go to a first date. That's like a big leap to meet someone and then go to a first date from that approach, right? So at this point, it's really just about having some decently interesting conversation, being a cool guy, getting to know them a little bit, telling them, stories of your life, asking them questions so you can get to know them. But again, one thing I didn't do right back in the day was it's not just about don't fuck up game, but it's also about, are they going to fuck up, right? Because you want to make sure that if you're on a date with the girl, it's not just about impressing her. Like, okay, I got to just not fuck up. Like, yeah, that's true. Like, be your best self always. But what about her? What about her? You got to be looking at her in a certain way. So you're trying to get to know her. So think about first dates as, well, I want to get to know her to see if she's a cool girl, to see if she is more than meets the eye. What do I want to know about her? And then you can go into the 3 non-negotiables that I talk about, which I go into a lot in my book, Magnetic. Okay, where I talk about the 3 non-negotiables, the 3 things that you're looking for in a woman, and you're trying to sift through on these dates and find out if they have the 3 non-negotiables, which are the 3 things you're looking for. Your little list of 3 that you want out of a girl, whatever that may be. Could be something physical, could be something with politics or religion. It could be something with, the things you like to do with your life, values, whatever it is. So this whole first date is about, okay, don't fuck up game. Be cool, be awesome, be the fun, interesting guy that you already are. And then also screen to see if she's a cool girl. And then you can move on from there. So think about that way in terms of first dates. So what I have now on this episode is I'm still diving into, I know I've done this the past few episodes, I'm diving into some older material. So what I found was I did a whole module on conversation in an old program that I had called How to Attract Your Perfect 10. That is now called Hooked. So if you're interested in getting hooked, you can get that at getherhooked.com. The link is in the show notes. But this is older material, still good stuff. And I found a piece that was really cool in terms of how to be really interesting with conversation on first dates. Now, when I actually recorded this, I was more talking about conversation in the context of meeting a girl for the first time in this module. But I saw this and I was like, you know what? I actually really think this is better as suited for when you're on a first date. So what you're about to hear is conversation tips that you can use when you first approach a girl, But I really highly recommend it for when you were on a first date because it's going deeper. It's talking about how to tell stories, how to be a little bit more interesting, how to get the conversation to a more emotional level so it's more interesting than not, right? So this is an episode that's going to be a little bit more geared towards how you can nail a first date with conversation. I don't go too deep into, actually, I don't think I go deep at all into getting to know her. I definitely touch upon it, but just keep this in mind that this is about getting to know her as much as it is you showing her who you are. Okay, so we're kind of combining these two factors here when we're really, really doing a great job at a first date. Okay, so we're combining all that together. Now, listen, there's a few announcements before we get into some of the meat here. And that is, if you're interested in coaching and you need help with the first dates or getting to first dates, you can always apply for coaching and you and I can work together one-on-one. That's not a problem. I can help you out. All you got to do is go to coachedbytrip.com and you and I can hop on a phone call and see if coaching is a good fit for you. Just fill out the application in as great detail as possible. And then you and I will hop on a phone call, like I said, and we'll go over all the requirements for coaching and how it works and prices and all that good stuff. So I want you to apply today if you feel that you need more help in this area, you need a helping hand. I can do that for you. Coachedbytrip.com is to do that. If you don't feel like you're ready for coaching quite yet, you can always hop into the Irresistible Academy. Irresistible Academy is my new 12-month program that you can now finally join and get in and be part of the program instead of having to get hooked first. I had a 14-day trial with Hooked. You can still do that, but some guys just really want to hop into the Irresistible Academy, which is 12 months of information teaching you how to live the most irresistible lifestyle, teaching you about your inner emotions, teaching you about your bachelor pad, teaching about all the moments that matter in dating, teaching you about style, teaching you about finances, productivity, advanced conversation techniques, advanced attraction techniques, humor and charisma. We really go deep into it all. And every month you get new material. So I want you to check it out at tripadvice.com/academy. That's where you'll watch a video and learn more about it. So join us and we can rock out. All right, let's go get into our episode here. Here is this recording that teaches you all about conversation. And like I said, it was not originally in the context of a first date, but I think it's amazing information for you to use on a first date. Take notes. Here you go. When you want to get on an emotional level and you want to connect deeper with her, talk about family. Ask her about her family. Tell her about yours. Talk about the whys of life, right? Talk to her about just like deeper stuff, like why you think things are and where you think, the world's going to be in 1,000 years. Just like the ponderables. Talk about childhood stories. Those are really good because they make you seem a little bit more vulnerable, right? Telling her maybe a childhood story of yours, nothing too disturbing. At least right now we're talking about the initial interaction. Okay, so don't get me wrong. You can get a little too deep when you first talk to them. Don't get too crazy. Unless you're feeling it, unless they're starting to share it with you, then you can do it with them. But yeah, any kind of fun, interesting childhood story, traveling. Hopefully right now you're getting ideas of your stories. Right now I'm just trying to give you ideas of what you could talk about. And I'm sure at this point you're like, oh, I could probably talk about this. I could talk about this story, this. Oh, I have these questions. I would always want to ask this kind of question to a girl, right? I have this interesting story. Start to write these down. Okay? What are your stories? Just like I said, they're funny, weird, unique, life-changing, emotional, adventurous, and crazy. Sound familiar? We went over this in, I think, the first module or the second module. We're going over your stories. What makes you, you? These are the stuff that you want to talk about. This is the stuff you want to bring up. Okay? And let's talk about storytelling. I want to teach you how to tell a story. So it's actually interesting because a lot of people don't really understand how to tell a story. Okay? So first, I want you to emphasize the emotional parts of the story, not just the facts. So when you're telling a story, don't just say, when me and Jim
we're going skydiving. We signed up to this skydiving company, and it cost $100. And then we went skydiving. We jumped out of this like really small plane, and the parachute opened up like after about 10 minutes, and then we landed, and it made a safe landing. Obviously, I'm kind of exaggerating here because that was no one's going to tell a story like that, but you'd be surprised. You've heard some stories where you're just like, God, this is so boring. So, okay, how are you going to bring the emotional parts out of the story? Easy. Tell her how you felt. When you tell her how you felt, she's going to feel. So I always wanted to go skydiving, and I was really nervous, but there was something inside of me that just really wanted to go. I don't know what it is. Like I felt like I just had to go before I die. You know what I mean? Do you ever feel that? Well, I finally decided to sign up with my buddy Jim, and it was like $100. I mean, talk about cheap, by the way. Like how cheap is that? Like $100 just to go skydiving. So super easy, super cheap. Signed up. We did the training. Oh man, the training was kind of difficult. I was still getting nervous, but it got me feeling more comfortable with actually going up there. And then after the training, which, it wasn't too bad. We got up in this small plane. I mean, God, it was just so scary because like the plane is like empty, right? And the plane is only meant to just like have people, just sitting in a, metal chair and then get ready to jump out of this crazy airplane and soar through the air at like 10,000 feet and above. And so we're just in this crazy, just empty plane. It's me and Jim and our instructors. And just 5 seconds before we were about to jump, I actually got this feeling where the fear just kind of disappeared. And I was like, you know what? This is going to be great. I'm going to love this. And this is going to be the most amazing thing ever. And guess what? It was. We jumped out of the plane, and it was the most incredible experience of my life. I can't even tell you what it feels like to jump 10,000 feet out of a plane. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of how you can tell a story with more emotion, more specific details of how you felt, what things looked like, how things were. And then you can get her involved. Get her involved like, you know what I mean? You say things like, you know what I mean? Like, have you ever done that? Like, get her involved in the story. Don't just be, preaching on your soapbox. Get her involved in it. And it really brings her in. Talk about bringing real emotion to a conversation. It's going to get her really attracted. And think about what excites you. What is it that excites you? What gets you going? Create a list of what makes you excited, and then talk about those things. Talk about the things that make you excited in life, because that's what's going to make her excited in conversation. Okay? Bring them up. Talk about them. Know what they are. I think you're, at this point, hopefully you're getting some in your head. You're kind of getting a good idea of what you can talk about, things that really make you excited. That's the stuff you talk about. Let's talk about humor now, okay? So if you don't know how to be funny, here's a couple of quick things you can do to start being more funny in conversation. One thing you can do, say something not serious in a serious tone, right? So maybe you're gonna say something to her, like you're at a crazy club, right? And you'll say to her like, wow, this place is like so calm. I could just like meditate, right? Obviously that's a joke and you're saying something not serious, but then you got to deliver it in a serious tone. Like just look at her and be like, you know what? I could just totally meditate right now. Like it's just so peaceful in here. Like you say that to her when like the club is like bumping, right? So it's that juxtaposition. Find a juxtaposition and say it. You're being sort of sarcastic. That's like bringing in sarcasm, and that can create some good humor for you. And also teasing, right? Tease her a little bit. That also, and anytime you tease her, and I'll teach you how to tease in this program, but teasing her is also going to make things funny, right? So you say to her that, say she's saying something like really interesting, right? And you're going to be like, oh my God, you're so boring. You're like the most boring person ever, right? If she tells you that she's traveled to every country in the world, or she's been on every continent or something crazy, and you're like, wow, you're the most boring person ever. And you're also saying that in a serious tone. So that's the tease right there. Like obviously she's not boring. You're just kind of teasing her, but she'll laugh. It makes it funny. You're just not taking things seriously. Okay? Get them talking. So a lot of guys want to know how to get them talking to you. Ask them to tell you a story. Ask them to tell a time when they were happy, scared, excited. Ooh, okay. Now we're talking here. Get them to talk about their emotions, right? So we're doing that a little bit with some of the questions, but ask them to tell you a story. Like ask them specifically, like after you tell a story, ask them, like, tell me a story of a time that you were really, like totally freaked out or really excited, or really happy. Ask them, don't be afraid. Ask questions like, what was that like? How did that feel? And future projections, right? So future projections is like asking them again, like what their passions are, or, what they plan to do with something, whatever it is. But ask questions, getting them to respond emotionally. What was that like? How did that feel? Get them talking on an emotional level. Ask for advice. Don't be afraid to ask someone for advice. I'm talking about a girl, all right? Ask her for advice. People love giving advice. They love to be asked for advice. It makes them feel good, right? That also brings it to an emotional level because you're kind of being vulnerable with them. And they're going to feel good giving you advice. Okay? Get deeper. Don't stay in performer zone. So I know I told you that this is a show and you want to bring high energy, but eventually you bring the energy down a little bit. Okay? And you get deeper with them. So when you start to get to know them a little bit more, you're going to bring down the energy, get out of performer zone, and kind of just talk to them more about some of their passions, their goals. At this point, maybe in the conversation, since you're so far along, maybe you can ask them what they do, what keeps them busy. Give them good eye contact. Have solid body language. Okay? And then, again, what is she like? A time when scared, time when embarrassed, relationship with her parents. I'm just trying to reiterate all this stuff. What is she like?